Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Bear Down Buzz podcast. As you can see, we are down Eli today, so it's just me and Isaac, but we are going to give you a preview of the Vikings and Bears game that's on Monday Night Football this week. Um, as always, we're going to start off with the injury reports. So for the Bears this week, uh, the Bears have only had one practice, and it was a walkthrough. It was Thursday. Um, so as of right now, Ryan Bates did not practice with a concussion. Josh Blackwell did not practice with a shoulder injury, which is not good because we're already down DeAndre Carter. He got put on IR on Wednesday. And if we're down Blackwell too, that means that we won't have a punt returner and we're going to have to maybe put Tyler Scott back there or someone else. We can definitely talk about that. Ravon Dexter did not practice with the knee. Roshan Johnson also has a concussion and did not practice. DeAndre Swift this week, instead of a quad injury like he had last week, he has a groin injury and did not practice. Elijah Hicks was limited with his ankle injury that he's been dealing with the past couple weeks. And Travis Homer, uh, he practiced in full, well, participated in full on Thursday with the head injury that he suffered on Sunday. Um, I think the biggest names on this list are DeAndre Swift with his groin. I know I said this last week about the quad, but it kind of goes the same way with the groin. Um, if he is hurt, the groin definitely affects the way you run. So if his groin is hurt going into the game on Monday, then we can see him most likely be less explosive. And he already wasn't explosive a lot last week. So uh that's a problem, especially when we don't have great other options. Froshan's going to be out, and then Javon Dexter, him not practicing with a knee injury, while not participating in the walkthrough with a knee injury, isn't great. Although apparently, according to Adam Hogue, he was walking around uh at the Ale House Hall today, well on thir- Thursday, and he looked okay. So maybe he'll practice on Friday and Saturday, and then like I said earlier, the Josh Blackwell injury is concerning just because if if he doesn't go, then the Bears don't have a punt returner technically. But maybe Tyler Scott finally gets to be activated off of the like on the roster on Sundays because he hasn't played all year, and he is fast, but I don't know if he really has the punt returning abilities besides being fast. So I'll be interested to see if Blackwell doesn't play on Monday. But I mean, again, it is just a Thursday injury report, and it was a walkthrough, so there's a potential Blackwell could play. But yeah, I'll pass it over to you, Isaac. What are your thoughts on this Bears injury report?
Yeah, so basically what you mentioned, the fact that we put DeAndre Carter on injured reserve and Blackwell's hurt, it's kind of leading us with no options at punt returner. And I agree with you. I think 100% we should definitely give Tyler Scott the opportunity. Like you said, I'm not sure entirely if he's able to do punt returning duties, but any way to give Tyler Scott a chance, I would be happy with doing so. And then the other injuries like DeAndre Swift, if he's not able to go. It just sucks that we ended up trading Khalil Herbert mid-season because we can really use him now. But I think he'll be okay to go. The Bears do play on Monday instead of Sunday, so give them an extra day to recover. And then same thing with Javon Dexter. The fact that we have Andrew Billings on IR and we're kind of slim on the defensive tackle end. So hopefully he can go. The one thing I do want to bring up that's not really on the injury report is the fact that Jaquan Brisker has taken as long as he has to come back and play. I'm really concerned about how severe this concussion is for him, and it's going to be a topic for Bears fans going into next season because next season is his last season under his rookie contract. If we're gonna is it time to really consider re-signing Brisker, or do we just let him go and address, find someone else to fill in for him, whether it's through the draft or free agency? And it's going to be a huge need because Kevin Byard, as even though he's been doing well for us, he's on the older end of the stick. So we'll see how that goes. But moving on to the Minnesota Vikings injury report. So it's a short list, and I'll just list everyone's name because it's only five players. So cornerback Stephon Gilmore is did not practice today with a on Thursday, my bad, with a hamstring injury. Aaron Jones, the running back, he was limited with a back injury. Pat Jones, the second, was limited with a knee injury. Linebacker Andrew Van Ginkel was limited with a hip injury. And then Josh Oliver, their backup tight end, was a full participant with wrist and ankle injury. So looking at this list, obviously Gilmore, if he's not able to go, there'll be a huge loss for this Vikings team. The Bears do happen to have really good receivers, so I wonder how they're going to be able to deal with that. Another one is Aaron Jones. If he's not able to go, it's going to be huge because Aaron Jones always finds a way to have a really good game against the Bears. Um, and then Andrew Van Ginkel, he's been a really good pass rusher for the Vikings. So it's same thing. Like if he's not able to go, it's going to be huge because Braxton Jones was getting blown up against the 49ers when the 49ers do not have a good defensive line at all. So going into Minnesota when they have Jonathan Grenard, they have Andrew Van Ginkel and all these other rushers. Martellus comes in there here and there, so it's going to be huge for this team. But I wanted to pass it over to you, Joe, and give us your thoughts on these Vikings injury report.
Yeah. So from what I've read and also heard from other podcasts, it seems like the one player on that list that is probably most in doubt is Andrew Van Ginkel, um, which is big because he's been a really big piece that they added this offseason. He has two picks, two I think two pick sixes this year. Um, and also just been getting into the quarterback and sacking the quarterback. And then and Aaron Jones has been hurt like almost all year. He's been dealing with injuries all year. So I don't think he's not gonna play. Um and the other two names on that list, um Pat Jones and Stephon Gilmore, I think they're trending to playing, but it'd be like you said, it'd be big if Stephon Gilmore didn't play. Although that secondary isn't real well. It's big if Gilmore doesn't play because that secondary isn't good. Like even with Gilmore, it's not great, but without him, it's even worse. So that'll be um, a point of contention if he doesn't play, because then the Bears hopefully can actually get something going through the air, unlike last weekend when they weren't able to do anything. And then if they're down Patrick Jones, that would also mean they're down two pass rushers, which helps the Bears uh, tremendously on the offensive line because then they don't have to worry about a lot of different people, and that would probably mean that Dale Turner plays a lot on Monday, and I don't he hasn't gotten too many hasn't gotten like a bulk of the workload. I'm pretty sure this year in Minnesota. So a rookie against Braxton Jones, even if he does have that high upside, uh, might end up faring really well on Monday night in Minnesota. So I think Pat Jones and Van Ginkel are definitely the biggest names to watch on that list, in my opinion. Um, Now, we're gonna transition over to keys of the game for the Bears. These two teams did play 2 weeks ago, uh, with the Vikings winning 30 to 27 in overtime. But a lot has changed over these past 2 weeks. The Vikings have won two straight games. I guess one against the Cardinals was close, and then last week they kind of destroyed the Falcons. And the Bears have went in the opposite direction. They've lost two straight, adding with a total at seven straight now. Um, and last week, obviously, we didn't look good at all. We had no running game. We couldn't get any. Well, we had one good drive, and then the rest of the game we could get a running game going, and didn't really have a passing game going. So this week it's going to be, I think, paramount uh, to get positive yardage on early downs because last week we couldn't do that. Now, some of that had to do with the receivers dropping the ball. Some of that had to do with DeAndre Swift not gaining much on the first and second down runs. So I would say again this week the Vikings don't have shown the past 2 weeks they don't have a good or have a uh very not they haven't been having a good run defense the past 2 weeks. Another name on that run defense that or on that defense that isn't on the injury report, but I heard that was hurt or is dealing with injuries is Harrison Phillips, who is their defensive tackle, who is really good at stopping the run. So that's a potential if he misses, that's a really big deal for the Bears. I know again we haven't ran the ball well, but that could potentially help us run the ball better if he's missing everything Kinkle is missing. So uh, try to establish some kind of run game. If Roshan does clear concussion protocol before Monday night, definitely use him in between the tackles if Harrison Phillips isn't playing because the Bears lacked the in between the tackles running last week. Because that's not really what Swift does. We try to make him go in between the tackles, but he is not good at that. He tries to bounce everything outside. Well, sometimes he's good at going between the tackles, but most of the time he tries to bounce the ball outside, which you know doesn't always work as we've seen. So that, like I said, try to get the run game going, and then for passing, I mean, kind of do what you did last 2 weeks ago against the Vikings. We got the ball out pretty quickly, so Williams didn't get sacked. Sack, Williams being sacked was a big problem last week. He got sacked 7 times. I'm. You can correct me when you're up, but I'm pretty sure he's been sacked 56 times now, which is the most any Bears quarterback has ever been sacked. He's. I'm pretty sure like nine, 17 or 17 to 20 sacks away from tying David Carr's record as a rookie, which it's been stated that many people think the reason David Carr's career went down the hill so fast was because he got sacked so many times as a rookie. So hopefully the Bears can keep him clean, keep Caleb Williams clean for the next 4 weeks. I mean, they probably won't keep him totally clean, but at least don't get up to like 70 sacks because that would be bad. Uh, and then yeah, so get the ball quickly to Rome, Keenan, and DJ. Also, though, they had a pretty good downfield passing attack against the Vikings 2 weeks ago. So if you could protect Caleb, get that downfield passing attack going, I get so that will be that's probably one of the more interesting aspects of this game too. Is this is the first time Caleb's ever faced a team twice in his career, um, and it's also the first time we've are going to be able to see Thomas Brown uh, and Caleb Williams work to find answers for the answers that Brian Flores probably found for us coming into this game. So that's going to be an interesting matchup to see what goes down. But I'll pass it over to you, Eli. Um, or sorry, I'll pass it over to you, Isaac. What are your keys to win this game? I
Yes, you're good. So what you were talking about how Caleb Williams was the most sacked quarterback so far, and all this, stuff about over the past couple of years, the Bears have been just really atrocious when it comes to protecting their quarterback. So before I want to get into the keys for this game, I just want to mention how the fact that we have a general manager who was a former offensive lineman, and he has failed to address the offensive line these past couple seasons, it's pretty mind-boggling to me. And as soon as the Bears got the number one overall pick, I'm pretty sure Ryan Poles already knew that he was going to draft Caleb Williams. So I don't understand why he didn't make more of an effort, especially like during the draft, to draft these offensive linemen. I mean, there's been so many good rookie offensive linemen like Zach Frazier, the center from the Pittsburgh Steelers, Dominic Puny, the right guard for the San Francisco 49ers, and then the list goes on. But just the fact that we're still talking about how bad the offensive line is, how many sacks, and I understand that some of these sacks are on Caleb, but a lot of them are not. We've seen it when you look at the film, this offensive line is just not doing what they're supposed to do. But going into the keys to the game, I'm really curious to see how Thomas Brown bounces back after that really disappointing loss as his first game as interim head coach. And like you mentioned, we already played the Vikings pretty recently, actually. And I was really surprised, first off, that Caleb Williams was able to get 340 passing yards against Brian Flores. Like, I'm pretty sure a lot of people thought that that Vikings game was going to be a game where Williams really struggled to move the ball, passing wise, and he actually did a really good job. So, going into Minnesota, playing in Minnesota on Monday night, everyone's going to be watching this Bears team, and I hope that Caleb is able to do the same thing that he did last game, where he was able to throw for over 300 yards, multiple touchdowns. But I just don't know. I think, like you said, Joe, the second time around, I feel like Brian Flores is going to have more answers on defense, and it's going to be harder to move the ball. But what I'm saying is, for Thomas Brown, you have to stick to the run game. I understand that sometimes it hasn't been going well. Like we've been getting 1, 2 yard plays, but you really got to stick to it. But not just that, the fact that like the game against the 49ers, the first drive, it was run, run, pass. I hate that first drive. I should never be run, 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 pass. It should be like just mix it up. However it is you want to do it. Like if you want to do a screen, even though Bears fans hate to see screens, like just do that. It's fine. But trying to mix it up, um, I gave him the pass the first week because it was his first week as the interim head coach, so he has a lot more responsibilities. But going into the second week, especially when you're playing a day later than what you're usually supposed to play at, I want to see more creative plays on offense. And I hope that Eric Washington, the defensive coordinator for the Bears, finds out, like, finds answers to why his defense was so poor on Sunday against the 49ers and fix that. I would like to see different schemes, maybe a couple more blitzes. I was watching the game against the Cowboys versus Bengals game, and the Bengals called a really nice play where they had both safeties creep in the box and they both blitz. And right away, I think it was Geno Stone who was able to get a sack on Cooper Rush, but or apply pressure on Cooper Rush. And that's kind of what I want to see for this Bears team. I feel like we're just playing so much zone and like vanilla defense that teams know this and they've been taking advantage of it. So I hope that we find answers. And Caleb Williams in his press conference on Thursday, he was talking about how he's never been in a losing streak like this before, and I hope it's not getting to him. He seems like he's mentally resilient, but I mean, losing 7 games in your rookie year, it would be tough on me too. So hopefully, hopefully the Bears can pull off a win. But I want to bring something up that was in an article by Seth Wickershams. He was basically talking about Bill Belichick. Joe, do you want to say something?
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. But the other thing that I didn't mention during my keys that I thought of while you were talking was it'll also be interesting to see how the Bears take care of Justin Jefferson because the last game they held Jefferson to I'm pretty sure 2 catches for 17 yards or something like that. Um, so but they also had Jordan Addison and Jackson go off. So it'll be interesting to see if Eric Washington will kind of employ the same strategy that Eberflus did against the Vikings to stop Jefferson, but then also, like you said, he'll need to find answers to stop Addison and Hawkinson. Obviously, you can't stop all 3 of them on every play, but at least stop 2 of them on some plays, and whoever gets the ball, make sure to tackle them quickly. Um, but yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to bring that back up just because that's always a big part of these Vikings games is trying to figure out how to stop Jefferson.
No, you're good. Yeah, no, totally. Like we were able to stop Jefferson, but Addison had a huge game. And the thing is like we can't just shut down someone and let someone else have a breakout game. That's not how it works. We're trying to like evenly shut down everyone. So hopefully they can figure that out. But back to what I was saying, there was an article that came out today on ESPN on Thursday by Seth Wickersham, and he was talking about the Bill Belichick signing when he went to UNC as a head coach. And he was saying that according to sources with direct knowledge, the group deemed the Chicago Bears were probably the most attractive job, but the team brass was unlikely to consider Belichick. And this is basically what he was saying that most people around the league believe that the Bears offense and with Caleb Williams is probably going to be the most coveted job, and it's probably going to be a job that Ben Johnson's going to end up taking. But I want to ask you this, Joe. The fact that the Bears didn't even consider at least talking to Bill Belichick, I understand a lot of people don't want Bill Belichick as the next head coach, and I mean, me too. Like, I wouldn't necessarily want to hire Bill, but at least to have a chance to talk to him. And this is the same thing that happened last season, where even though we didn't fire Matt Eberflus when we should have, the fact that the Bears didn't really want to listen to Jim Harbaugh when Harbaugh has expressed interest in coming back or coming to become the head coach of the Bears. What were your thoughts on the Bears basically just not even considering talking to Bill Belichick?
Yeah. I'll get to that in a second. I just want to identify who the group that you were talking about is in that article. So Belichick, um, him, Josh McDaniels, Matt Patricia, Michael Lombardi, and a couple other people that he was close with in the NFL. They have been getting together this week after or this year after games and just assessing the NFL like they used to when they were um coaching in the league together. So those are the that's the group that you were Isaac was mentioning when he was talking about um that the group doesn't believe that or the group believes the Bears want to hire an offensive minded head coach and didn't even consider Belichick. But getting to the fact that the Bears didn't even think about um calling Bill Belichick and talking to him, I originally didn't have a problem with it because I didn't want Belichick. But thinking it over more, you kind of like you have to at least make the call and talk to him because the Bears franchise I mean, over the past at least 20 years, maybe longer, they've been really bad. So if you can learn anything from one of, if not the best head coach in NFL history or in football history, you should do it. Um, Even if you're not going to hire him, have a conversation with him. Also, in that article, Wickersham brought up that apparently Belichick was willing to change his ways to be head coach in the NFL again. Although a lot of GM or a lot of owners didn't really believe that. That's kind of why he hasn't been hired again. But yeah, you definitely should have at least called Belichick and talked to Belichick about what how you can make this organization better and how he sees the game and also like yeah how he sees the game, maybe how he would help. I mean, I know it doesn't sound like he really likes Caleb Williams from his hits on TV and stuff, but how he would help develop Caleb Williams because obviously the Eberflus hiring didn't work out. Um, a couple before that, the Nagy hiring didn't work out. Like our last coaches besides our coaches since Lovie Smith haven't worked out. Nagy was the most successful, and even then, he kind of fell apart at the end. Um, so yeah, I can't believe that they didn't at least talk to Belichick and and Harbaugh last year too. Like, yeah, you didn't fire Eberflus, you probably should have. Um, and when you have head coach, you can't talk to other people. So if they wanted to talk to Harbaugh, they probably should have because we're seeing what he's doing with the Chargers right now. They should have fired Eberflus last, but going in the season. I I mean I get why they didn't at that time it made sense, but I mean we saw how it all fell apart, and I guess hindsight's 2020, but yeah, and looking back at it, you kind of wish that they fired Flus and talked to Harbaugh, um, and maybe even hired Harbaugh because the team probably would be in a much better spot right now if they did. So I'll pass it back to you. What are your thoughts on this whole situation, Isaac?
Yeah, I think we should have at least talked to Bill Belichick. And then going back to last year, we definitely should have fired Matt Eberflus, but we kept him. So I understand like you're not really gonna talk to Jim Harbaugh when you already have a head coach, but the it's just like the Bears, I feel like they're never doing the right decision. Like they're never making the right choices. You have these quality candidates that are eager, that would want to coach for this team, and yet you just shoo them away and you end up hiring some random defensive coordinator from the Colts, like it just doesn't make sense. So this season, this offseason, now that we actually don't have a head coach and we are going to start looking for one, I don't know if I have the confidence in the Bears to make the right decision. People always joke around because there's the obvious candidates. Like there's guys like Ben Johnson that a lot of people are rooting or that want. There's guys like Mike Vrabel, a lot of people are talking about. but it just feels like the Bears are gonna end up choosing someone random. It's gonna be someone like I don't know, like Marcus Freeman or Joe Brady, someone that's I don't know, like the Bears at this point, like you guys just need to make the right decision and not get cute about it. And it's basically been like the epitome of this team where it's like Luke Getsy was getting too cute with his screen calls, got him fired. Matt Eberflus was just getting it was just too much. So like yeah, I agree with you, Joe. I think that the Bears missed on an opportunity to talk to Bill Belichick. They could have learned a thing or two from him, but they didn't, and he's with UNC now, so that's that. But yeah, that's basically my thoughts on Bill Belichick.
Yeah. Um, just to bring it back, I know we had the head coaching discussion uh, a couple weeks ago, but the buzzwords they're using are leader of men, uh, and in that article they said an offensive minded guy. But so that kind of like narrows it down to leader of men narrows it down to Mike Vrabel, and they want people with also previous head coaching experience. So currently, that would knock it down to Mike Vrabel, um, potentially Arthur Smith if they want to hire him from the Steelers as an OC, although he wasn't great as a head coach. Um, then Cliff Kingsbury. There's one more name I'm forgetting, but that's not really a long list. And also, like, I don't know. It's just I don't. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't really trust them to make the right decision. Uh, yeah, I'm also skittish. I don't know. I'm kind of skittish on it. Like, I think Ben Johnson's the he's a hot name. I'm just kind of skittish on him just because we don't know if he could lead men. But again, we talked about this. Um, you never really know with a lot of these head coaches unless you're hiring like a Mike Vrabel. Um, and we've said this before. We've all said this before. We wouldn't hire Cliff Kingsbury. Stay away from him as much as you can. But moving on from that, um, we'll do the game predictions now. We'll start with the Bears and Vikings game. That's obviously Monday Night Football. So I'll to you, Isaac. Then you can pass it back to me. Who do you think is going to win this game?
It's tricky because I want to say the Bears, and ugh, it's tough because I feel like every week I want to choose the Bears and I end up choosing the Bears and then they just disappoint me. Um, I'm trying to think about like the factors in this game. The Vikings are 11-2. We're gonna play in Minnesota on Monday night. We've had a good history. At least the last time we played the Vikings in Minnesota, it was Monday night. The Bears ended up winning barely. It was like 15-12 or something like that. Um, but as a Bears fan, I have to say the Bears. I think the Bears are gonna win. I hope they do because we're long overdue for a win. We're on a 7 game losing streak, and I don't think this team can handle another loss. So I'm gonna say it's probably gonna be a close one, even though I don't want it to be a close one. But I don't think it's gonna be as high scoring as last time. So give me Bears 21, Vikings 17. What about you, Joe?
This is tough because I basically agree with almost everything you said. I The Bears somehow kept some they rallied it late in the fourth quarter last time they played to make a close game and only lost by 3 in overtime. I do think it's time for the Bears to win, but also just this Vikings team, I think they figured stuff out since the last time the Bears played. I don't know if their defense is going to allow as many points because I think Flores is going to have answers for what he did well, and like we don't know if we're going to be able to answer them with Thomas Brown and Gable Williams. Um, I want to pick the Bears. I'm not going to pick the Bears. At least I would like to be surprised, please. I'm gonna go Vikings 20-17. Um, and if the Bears somehow pull it out, I'll be very, very happy. Um, I hope they don't go on that game losing streak because we started off the year on a 14 game losing streak. Um, we broke that 14 game losing streak with the win week 1, but we came into the year with a 14-game losing streak. I'm pretty sure. Um, and then yeah, so Vikings win on Monday Night Football. Uh, the other NFC North games, there's 2 other NFC North games this week. The first one we're going to talk about is 3:25 Sunday. Uh, Lions and Bills. It's going to be a heavyweight showdown. Uh, the Bills are coming off a game where they scored 42 points and lost to the Rams by 2. And Josh Allen had 3 passing and 3 rushing touchdowns. And then obviously the Lions are coming off another win. I'm failing to remember. I feel that was a Packers game last Thursday night. That was a very close win. The Vikings won by 3. Um, sorry, not the Vikings. The Lions won by 3 against the Packers last Thursday night. So, who do you have on Sunday? I
I think this game might end up being the game of the year because there's just so many storylines. Like Jared Goff, as much as people are saying that Josh Allen's gonna likely win MVP, Jared Goff has put a very underrated season so far, and the Lions just look unstoppable. Like they're on a different level right now when it comes to playing football. But the fact that Josh Allen scored 6 touchdowns, 3 rushing, 3 passing, he had like over 300 yards, and the Bills still lost to the Rams. It's crazy. I feel like he's gonna have a little vengeance, and he's gonna want to win next week. Um, so give me the Bills on this one. I think it's gonna be a high, like really high scoring game. I don't know if these defenses are gonna be able to stop the other opposing offense. So I would say maybe it's like 47 to 42 Bills. What about you, Joe?
so I'm kind of right there with you. I think the first team to break 50 probably wins this game, which is crazy because NFL teams don't usually get to 50. I mean, the Lions have 3 times this year, but they're pretty much the only team that scored 50 points this year. But the Lions defense is very injured, and the Bills offense can definitely attack that. And they also play a lot of man coverage, which might leave the door open for Josh Allen to run a bunch, which isn't good for the Lions at least. Um, and then the Lions, their offense is high powered, and the Bills defense, well, it's decent. It's not going to be able to slow them down. The Bills defense can't stop the run. I mean, they're better at stopping the runs inside the 20 than they are from 20 to 20, but they're not going to be able to stop the run against this Lions team. No one has. Um, so, but with all that said, I am going to, I think, pick the Bills. I mean, the Bills kind of need to win this game to stay in the second seed in the NFC, or sorry, in the AFC. Uh, Same goes for the Lions. They need to win this game to stay at the top of the NFC. But I just think the Lions finally everything catches up to them, and they at least lose 1 game um, this week. Uh, I think I might be wrong on this, but I think like well, actually, maybe no, I don't think that's true. Um, but we didn't mention this in our score prediction for the Bears game, but the Bears and this Bears Vikings game is the first game uh of a 11-day stretch where the Bears play 3 games. Um, so that's pretty important that we didn't mention. But back to the score prediction for this Lions and Bills game. I'll go Bills 50, Lions 47. I mean, if that's 97 points, that's crazy. But I think they're both very capable of doing that. Moving on to the last game for the NFC North this week. Well, I guess technically the Bears are the last game, but in the score prediction, the last game for the NFC North this week is the Sunday Night Football matchup between the Packers and Seahawks. Who do you got winning this game?
Um, the Seahawks really need to win because the division's really tight. It's the NFC West with the Rams, the Cardinals, and the 49ers. So it's all the teams are in the mix to win the division. Um, but I don't know. I can't really see the Seahawks winning this game just because the Packers, it's the same thing I was talking about earlier with Josh Allen wanting vengeance for losing the way they did. The way the Packers lost against the Lions, I know a lot of Packers fans were upset because they were complaining about the refs and stuff like that, which I don't think was entirely the reason why they lost, but they could have won that game and they didn't. So going into Sunday night, uh, I can't really bet against the Lions or the Packers on this one. So give me Packers 24, Seahawks 17. What about you, Joe?
Um, yeah, I also got Green Bay. Green Bay can run the ball. I don't think that the Seahawks are great at stopping the run. And when you get those two mixed together, that's usually end up good for the other team. Uh, it'll be interesting to see if the Seahawks can move the ball in the passing game because Jair Alexander might be out again, and their cornerback room will be thin. So they'll have to cover they'll have to cover Lockett, Metcalf, and um, Jackson Smith and Jigba with backup level cornerbacks, which I guess they've been kind of doing all year with different teams, but those three guys are really good. So um, it might be a close game, but I could also see it not being a close game because the Packers just run the ball a bunch and keep the uh, Seahawks off the field, and they just get a couple stops, and that game ends up being like 28 to 14. But my final score prediction, I think, is going to be 21 or 24-21 Packers, with the Seahawks scoring late to win, or the Seahawks scoring late, but ultimately not coming up with the victory. So that's gonna do it. Unless you have anything else, Isaac, that's gonna do it for today's episode of the Bear Down Buzz podcast. Like always, please like our TikToks, YouTube Shorts. Check out mine and Isaac's Twitter. We share articles out uh, al- almost daily or every other day about the Bears, and I also write about the Chiefs. So you'll get those if you follow me on Twitter too. Uh, and we will see you all on hopefully. Well, it won't be Monday because the Bears play Monday. It'll the episode will be out Wednesday, most likely. So hopefully, instead of a victory Monday, we'll see you on a victory Wednesday. But we will see. See you guys later.